Welcome back. Welcome back, chat. We are playing Of the Devil. Hi! We are finishing Of the Devil, hopefully, today. I don't know. We're on the trial, so hopefully it's... We'll either finish it today or tomorrow. Hi, Morgan. That's cool. Just implying the ugly. It's fine. Sorry for not streaming for the last 3 days. I've been busy. Counselor Morgan's hypothesis stands. This knife matches Miller's entry wound. Well, how about that? And it matches the wound better than the katana. Considering what we discussed yesterday, I'd be ready to say that this is definitively the murder weapon used to stab Miller. I need to put some medicine on my canker sore because I'm going to be talking a lot. I'll be right back. Oh, one other thing about streams while I'm here. My grandpa's landline is... One other thing about streams while I'm here, my grandpa's landline is right next to my setup. Because I sleep in his office while I'm here, so... If the landline goes off and I don't hear it, don't call the number that the voicemail says. Please. It's not mine. I had no more luck with DNA testing than Sarah did. You weren't able to get anything? Nothing in the range of admissibility. However, like Sarah, I was also able to perform blood type analysis on the blade. And while I also found A-, B-, and B- sample, I found one more blood type as well, A+. Who has A+ blood type? Barrows, but you were probably nowhere near. Chopin, that's the victim. Was the knife used against Chopin for some reason? Diamani, he was nowhere near. Mireille. I guess it could be Mireille. But I don't know why she would go there, murder a cop, and then leave. So my bet is that it's Chopin's blood. 3 people cut with 1 knife? This can't be hygienic. As long as you don't stick it in your mouth, you should be fine. A+ blood. Who was there that night that had A+ blood? Your Honor, these findings bring a rather alarming fact to light. If Dr. Sato believes that the Miller was most likely stabbed by this knife and not the katana, that means that this knife was also the source of Miller's blood on Sosuke's bindings. So either my client killed 4 men while cycling between a gun, a sword, a bat, and now a knife with his wrists tied together, all before stopping to ever cut his bindings, or he was still in captivity when the Blue Bloods were killed. But wait, that almost sounds like an alibi for 4 of the 5 murders! Scarlet Draw. That is not an alibi, Your Honor. Merely an increasingly strong shadow of a doubt. The jury can decide that for themselves. The facts surrounding Tariq Chopin's death still stands. Sasuke Ikeda was the only living individual in the room Chopin was killed in. Sasuke Ikeda is the only person with his fingerprints on the katana, something he corroborated with his very own testimony a short while ago. And the defense theorized the fleeing suspect has already been revealed as incapable of committing any of these crimes. Yes, but unfortunately for the people's case against my client, there's evidence that completely overturns our understanding of how Chopin died. The blood on the knife. The knife that Dr. Sato has just used on Miller? Very likely used to kill Miller, yes, but definitely used to kill Chopin. What are you going on about? Blood typing. Chopin is the only victim with A+ blood. Even my client Sosuke has a B- blood. Yet Dr. Sato just told us that A+ blood was found on this knife. That blood could have come from nowhere but the single fatal wound identified on his autopsy. Chopin's blood was all over the scene. The knife could have fallen into it at any point. Not at any point, no. This knife was removed from the crime scenes and never seen by the ARCs. That means it... Nice! Get their ass! That means it has to be moved into the alley before Detective Reeves arrived on the 3rd floor. But Chopin was impaled by the sword. We've all seen it. Yes, but not fatally. How could that stab wound not be fatal? Because it was post-mortem. You're basing this on the blood. Usually closely follows a stabbing, yeah. It's the amount of blood, Your Honor. An impalement doesn't leave much blood at the scene because the weapon acts as a stopper. I assume the blood at the scene was the result of the sword being jostled afterward because the wound had been aggravated. But this knife turns that idea on its head. Chopin was stabbed in the heart from behind, but it was most likely with this knife. He collapsed on the floor dead, and then his knife was removed, and his corpse was impaled with the sword in the same wound, leaving a mark on the floor. The sword was only then moved around, increasing the wound size and masking the initial knife's entry wound, while utterly soaking the floor in blood. It's a possibility. If I may, Your Honor, this may be just a possibility, but it's the possibility that makes most sense to me. It explains the irregularities with the victim's substantial blood loss, the pattern of the wound, and the indentation on the floor. It might make medical sense, Dr. Sato, but the sequence of actions you described are not those of a rational human. But wanting to frame Sosuke for the murder seems pretty feasible, and stabbing the corpse with a katana would be the best way to do that. Do I stay here? Yeah, I think I stay here. You make a strong argument, Dr. Sato. In order to frame my client for Chobin's death, they'd have to put their fingerprints on the murder weapon, on the knife. They wouldn't need to just stab the corpse. They wouldn't need to stab the corpse with the katana. They could have just put the knife in his hands. Swapping out the murder weapon and disposing of the knife is 2 to 4 times as much work. That's many more chances to make a mistake. It's nonsensical. Chopping Chopin's corpse with the katana didn't help them frame Sosuke. Oh, I got wrong. Damn it. Chopin's blood nearly destroyed all the red ink dots at the scene, but who says that it's a coincidence? What if Chopin was stabbed twice, just so his blood would cover up the red ink dots? It makes sense to me. No, not your logic for the stabbing. This idea of yours that Tariq Chopin was part of some kind of conspiracy to defraud the city. Agree, that is insane. I believe just the opposite. Tariq Chopin was an unpopular, straight-laced political aspirant working as a cop only to improve his electability. His personality, his family, his goals. He'd have every reason to blow the whistle on Prop 492. And just get the whole project cancelled, leaving the lower wards in an underdeveloped lurch. A lot of people would hate to see that happen. A lot of blue bloods. But the son of 2 city councilmen wouldn't care. And for an Ikaria like my client would be actively rooting for it. You think that Chopin was murdered just to cover up the fact that Prop 492 had been corrupted? Just? All that money left on the table? All the future money coming down the line? That's a much better motive than... What is it you proposed exactly? That my client saw a police officer and would rather stab him than have to explain why he'd killed his captors? So, like, what's going on now? Did Sosuke do it or not? She's so silly. That would be cleared up in very short order, Your Honor, with the help of our final witness. So Yoru wasn't even really used to frame me. You used to draw more blood from the wound to soak the papers. A very cool decision to make in the moment, defiling a corpse just to protect investments. Colder than stabbing someone in the back? In some ways. Didn't think that was up for debate. Thank you for joining us once again, Officer Rogers. No problem. Where is everybody, though? Well, after the shooting yesterday, I'd rather not risk the integrity or celerity of this trial by rescreening every member of the gallery when I've already cleared the room once. Celerity? Speed! Trial's gotta go fast, baby, and it takes every while to find their spot in the stands again. We were almost caught in the line of the fire not 24 hours ago, Officer Rogers, yourself included. Surely you don't find the lack of an audience to be intimidating. Where'd we leave off with this guy, anyway? I believe that lawyer over there just accused my partner of being on the take for the Blue Bloods. I was merely exploring a possibility raised by the witness's sworn statement, that he never heard any gunshots in the area himself. And I stand by that. Good. Does the defense have questions for this witness, Your Honor, or should we all continue to glare at one another for the rest of the day? Tempting, but I guess we'd rather not. Your Honor, we ask that the witness testify once more about how he and his partner arrived in the scene. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to repeat it as many times as you like. I'm going to have to call you on that. Just the whistle. But then my partner heard gunshots. We were headed for the nearest known Orca hotspot and Arrived at the building near quiet. Door was locked. I checked the alley but didn't see another way in. So Chopin shot off the lock through the door and we entered. Followed some kind of loud music up the stairs. There was this kind of slam and my partner bolted to the 3rd floor. About a minute later I heard a thud from upstairs and came running to find the defendant standing over my partner's dead body. Just savoring the moment, I suppose. There's only one thing to do at this point, and once I hit the trigger on it, things will really take off. Quit that already! As I've mentioned, I feel many times by now that is a very unpleasant tone, Adonai. Sorry, Butterfingers. Has anyone ever told you it's in poor taste to use the same trick twice? It's been done a lot more than twice now, and besides, it's only an issue when it's used twice on the same audience. Speaking of which, you gonna answer that, Officer Rogers? Got him! Just to fill you in, officer, what I accidentally pressed just now was a whistle found at the scene of the crime. Weird coincidence that my little slip-up coincided with your phone vibrating. Can you read us the notification you received just now? Or should the court computer simply force open all of your devices and splatter your data across the walls? Officer Rogers, you have a so-called receiver application installed on that device, do you not? Yes, I do. Is that in line with the department guidelines on use of third-party software and state-provided devices? It's not breaking any regulations. Doesn't need to earn you any demerits to make you look guilty of sin. You and your partner, that is. Did Chopin also have that app installed? We can go check. If having that app on your phone makes you guilty of something, you'd have to arrest half the cops patrolling the lower wards. It's a common knowledge that orcas use unconventional tactics to talk to one another. Flags on buildings, clothes left out on lines, smoke signals, probably even messenger pigeons. Where? Don't jump scare me like that. When you gotta figure the statuesque, every pigeon is a disaster waiting to happen. Anyway, whistles like that one aren't that uncommon. So is it common for members of the police department to try to listen in on the chatter of groups like the Blue Blood Mafia? Lower wards aren't a place a cop walks into without every weapon they can carry, and that goes double for information. So there's nothing suspicious about his phone reacting to that horrible racket? I don't know, have I had to put up with that noise for nothing? Not for nothing. The witness is correct, Your Honor. There's nothing suspicious about having a receiver app installed on your devices, even if you aren't a cop. What's incriminating is the fact that Officer Rogers' device responded to the specific frequency of this whistle. Sorry, officer, a little blue birdie already told the court that you need to input a frequency in order to get alerts from it. So does the whole force, in fact. What? I see. Officer Rogers, testify about this anonymous tip that the police department received last night. Oh, haven't seen the submission myself, but it came through the department network straight to everyone's inboxes. Be advised, anonymous tips suggesting potential orca analog chatter at the frequency listed below. Patrol officers in lower wards, use this information at your discretion. That's absurd. What's the point of informing every cop in the city about a secret communications channel? The Blue Bloods would find out their line was compromised within minutes. Would they? I don't know. I don't control how anonymous tips get handled. But as soon as you got an email telling you there might be criminal connections, you're bullshitting! Occurring at a random frequency, you turned into it right away. Believe it or not, I'm a little concerned about criminal communications these days, having seen my partner murdered by an orca right in front of me barely 24 hours before nearly getting shot myself. Back up. You saw the moment of your partner's death? That's new to the court. You know what I mean. Your Honor, the tip was submitted, and the frequency was spread throughout the police department network, likely because the Blue Bloods believed it to be compromised, having already been used at a scene where 4 of their members died. Officer Rogers may have the receiver app on his phone, but so do many other police officers in the city. The app doesn't provide timestamps of when frequencies are added, so there's no proof of when his phone first started listening for the frequency. Neither he nor his partner were members of the organized crime unit. Therefore, they had no criminal informants of their own and could not have obtained this frequency before the rest of the department. Since the defense cannot prove that the signal was acquired illegitimately. I never said I couldn't prove that. .345 .021 .403 .492 all those pages, all that text. The frequency could be hidden on any line. Yeah, true. Then is it the data pad? Did they, like, track the frequency using Creek's data pad? Wait, where did this come from? Because why wasn't it left with the rest of the documents? For your consideration, the scrap of paper found on the second floor. The frequency could have been found on it before the writing degraded. Because it could have been. Where did it come from? Wait! The gun was found on tanks a week ago. Wait, I'm stupid. I wasted so much money. Fuck. They got the frequency when the gun was found on tanks. It was jailbroken when it was frisked, but they ignored it. But they ignored that. They ignored the fact that it was illegal to possess for some reason. Maybe in return for that frequency. Not just any gun, a MAG US, legally registered to Anchor Town. And how do I know that? Because this gun was identified and scanned over a week ago when Tanks was briefly detained by some well-meaning officers on patrol. Officers TC and HR reported the following: subject in possession of firearm and in violation of parole, and subject in possession of suspect communication software installed on personal phone. He wrote all of that in the report? You and your partner found the emergency frequency from Creek's pod over a week ago by skimming Tanks' phone and sat on it until last night, where you kindly dropped it off into the tip box. What are you saying? Why don't we frisk a perp, get good intel, and keep it to ourselves? For the same reason your partner might report a generic sharts heard over the police network when he already knew exactly where to look. The same reason he'd be ecstatic at finding the documents of Prop 492 at the site of an Orca bloodbath. You wanted your gold stars. You wanted to be the first on the scene of a site of a blue blood massacre. Counselor is badgering, Your Honor, and losing her meager thread of logic in the process. The previous witness testified that there was, in fact, a silent alarm that night. A silent alarm that needs to be actively pressed. It could only gone out before Creek's heart stopped. Said witness responded to the alarm by traveling on foot, and yet arrived well before Rogers and Chopin. The lower wards are maze-like. She could have been closer. The whistle has limited range over which it can be received. You proposed that officers Roger and Chopin were within that limited range at 9:45 p.m. Obviously you do, otherwise they never would have received the frequency at all. So if person H is on foot and individual R is in a police car, and they both receive the signal at the same time, and a train leaves Appletown at 3 p.m., that seems like an irrelevant factor. All the court needs to consider is this: how could Roger and Chopin have possibly arrived later than someone arriving on foot if all three were within that range? I can't believe I told my geometry history teacher that none of this would ever be useful, for I was never taught what laws there are. Small brain moment? Shut the fuck up. God, that song was stupid. This isn't geometry, damn it. It's just logic. The fact is, they did arrive later than Han. If I'm right about the motivation for Chopin's actions that night, if he was sitting in his police car and suddenly got a notification telling him some blue bloods were having a life or death emergency, how would he react in that moment? It seems the defense does not have the evidence available to address this contradiction, Your Honor. Evidence explaining exactly how Chopin proceeded to get to the crime scene. Do I have that evidence? Evidence that proved how Chopin got to the crime scene. Is it the... Did he go up through the fire? The windows, maybe? Of course I have evidence that explains this contradiction. I just have to go get it. Smooth... Fuck! But sometimes living in a surveillance state has its perks. Like when you want to surveil police officers. Fuck! The officer's patrol car, their cell phones, traffic cameras, and optics data. I could request any of it. Hell! I'm losing all my money! Your Honor, I formally subpoena all of it! What? I'm down to 173! No! What? Can she do that? I'm not sure, I'm still learning. Ray's drunken swipe on my front door reminded me just exactly how much power the police have. But it was your beautiful checking in that made me realize just how hard it is to lose a cop in the city. Whatever it takes to answer this question for the court. After the officer Chopin reported that he had shots fired, exactly how long did he and his partner do donuts in the parking lot before actually driving off towards the scene? Kind of a big ask from the defense, but it's entirely doable. Do the people object? The people, of course, object to any data collection effort that would be a waste of taxpayer money or a violation of their privacy, so we would prefer that the range of this request be narrowed somewhat. Narrowed, perhaps, from everything to something. Happy to do that, Your Honor. I promise not to act like a kid in a candy shop when browsing, though. If you do this, if you subpoena that data, you'll just see me driving like a lethargic moron. He seems different. Hardly recognize him. Agreed, but I recognize his type. Soldier. Your Honor, what the defense is suggesting is largely accurate. That's a first. He's a soldier, though there are some corrections I feel I should make at this time. Officer Chopin is the one who discovered the frequency when we apprehended Agent Chan. He entered it in most of receiver apps at the time without my knowledge. It wasn't until the night in question that he chose to inform me about the intel he obtained and how he planned on acting about it. At 9:45 p.m. we received a signal. Before I could react, he had put out a notice on the police network that he had heard gunshots. It was at this time he told me to drive towards Blue Blood territory. As starting to explain what he believed we would find, I chose to take a suboptimal route. We spent several minutes in traffic as he berated me for my sense of direction. So you both knew the silent alarm would lead you to some sort of blue blood emergency, but only you realized that meant you should take your time getting there. Logically, a silent alarm is triggered during a confrontation, not afterward. I had no desire to walk into a crossfire of an Orca gunfight without backup. You could have had backup, easily. My partner had no desire to share intel or how we obtained it. I apologize to the court, Your Honor, for being evasive or misleading during these proceedings, and I intend to take full responsibility for doing so, but I was not eager to admit the role my own cowardice plays in these events. Nor would I ever want to imply that Officer Chopin was responsible in any way for his own murder. As cozy as ice water. So you're telling the court that you and your partner arrived at what you expected to be a bloodbath, and you still just shot off the lock of a door and started stomping around inside while separated from one another? Respectfully, ma'am, with the route I took and the time it took us to arrive, we expected to find all targets neutralized, and that expectation was reinforced when we arrived on the street and found the whole vicinity dead quiet. Yet we were the first on the scene, despite my stalling for some time. I think that might have enthused my partner. He was excited, and I let him set the pace. It's my deepest regret that I agreed to his... First you arrive on the scene, we know that wasn't the case. A blue blood got there well before you and your partner. That's what you were talking about? The witnesses wasn't present for that individual's testimony. He's merely giving the facts as he knows them, and he can't have known that there was a blue blood in the building. On the contrary, he already testified about encountering them yesterday, as they made a not-so-silent retreat down in the alleyway. That was a blue blood making all that racket? I see. My partner, Chopin, he shouted that there was someone scrambling around down the alley not long before he was killed. He must have opened the windows on the 3rd floor to check. That's a new detail, Officer Rogers. Pardon me if I failed to mention it yesterday. It occurs to me that you weren't present in the courtroom when this other curious detail was brought to light. The fact that there is another weapon at the scene of the crime. A bloodied knife, which somehow ended up down in the dumps. Know anything about that? No, ma'am, I do not. Playing dumb? Wrong move. But I do know that Cyanus is a bunch of amateurs with conflicted priorities. Explain this to the court, then. Forensic analysis has already shown that this knife was the murder weapon used to stab Miller, getting a healthy amount of his blood out in the process. It's also been established that this knife must have been what my client used to cut his own bindings. If you say so. The evidence says so. If the defense is interested in asking the witness questions, perhaps they'll answer mine. What does that have to do with Officer Rogers? Everything, of course. Allow me to show you why. It's this! They found Rogers arresting Sosuke. Can I not check the evidence? We know for a fact that Sosuke had to use that knife to cut his bonds. And Detective London has testified that Officer Rogers apprehended Sosuke alone. So why can't the officer who apprehended the man last known be using this knife? Tell us how it ended up in this alley. That is a question well worth asking the witness. I have no idea what you're talking about. When I found your client, he had the Nagu S and he had the sword. The sword he had stuck to my partner. This knife you're talking about, where do you find it? In the trash. Drum. Down the alley. Well then some crime scene tech idiot must have thrown it out thinking it was bio waste. Or some Sanus lackey tossed it as a prank. I wouldn't know, because I spent hours being debriefed in that room on the 3rd floor while they set up the arcs. I spent all night in a room with my partner's corpse. Never took a trip down to empty the recycling bin. We know the knife was with Sosuke at one point, and we know that it ended up down in the alley later. So it stands to reason that someone had to walk downstairs and out of the building. If Rogers never left that room all night, then someone else must have moved it. How much money do I have? 173. Do I risk it? Gamble! Wait, let's play this smart. We know that the reason that someone had to walk it. He just threw it out the window! 0 points for you! 0 points again? All that processing power and you can't even manage to think in 3D? It doesn't matter if Officer Rogers stayed in that room all night, Your Honor. All anyone would need to do was dispose of the knife, was step out onto the fire escape and drop the knife into the barrel waiting below. No need to leave the third floor. No need to leave the crime scene at all, Officer Rogers. What kind of trick shot bullshit are you talking about? That is a long drop, Your Honor. A straight drop. Gravity's convenient like that. The target was a small drum in a dark alley. Said drum was burning when the police arrived. The target would have been plainly lit, and I've taken both of your arguments into consideration. After much deliberation, I've come to the conclusion that the proposed method of moving the knife from the third floor is not actually that hard to do, assuming a modicum of hand-eye coordination and a basic understanding of Newtonian physics. Well, obviously, couldn't anyone manage that? Practiced martial artists who are masters of every muscle in their body, individuals like yourself and me, fucking bragging ass, might find it hard to relate. But there are some who would struggle with the task. Yourself and I. Wait, hand-eye coordination? Eloquently put, Your Honor. So you must agree that someone with hand-eye coordination so bad that they hold the record for the worst marksmanship in the entire police department. Someone with such poor aim that they opted to physically assault a target rather than shoot them would find it impossible to pull that off. Are you not talking about me? She's talking about me, Your Honor, and while I find her tone unflattering, none of what she said is false. Apologies, that dropping the knife from the fire escape didn't occur to me as a possibility. It just must have been, for me personally, such a method of compromising a crime scene is not only unthinkable, it's impossible. Of all the stupid details to come back and bite me in the ass, the piss-poor aim that London mentioned? Is it possible that Officer Rogers faked his poor aim at the academy? It's easy to not hit your target, but why do you intentionally flunk a shooting test years ago to give himself such a strange alibi here today? He didn't flunk his test. He got the very lowest score you could possibly get while still being certified. Good lord, you'd have to be trying to. If his goal was to receive the exact minimum number of points he needed to pass, his margin of error would actually be much smaller than anyone simply doing their best. But then, what about when he first saw me? It's true that any other cop who saw me standing over their dead partner would have just unloaded. Instead, he ran up and hit me. If he's not actually that bad a shot, why am I still alive? That's the story Rogers has been telling so far, that he instinctually didn't bother to fire. His gun was in discharge, and Sosuke got the bruises, so he accepted that line of reasoning. But if I assume he's more dangerous than he's led us to believe, why wouldn't he have just shot Sosuke when he had the chance? He could have told his fellow officers whatever story he liked afterward, and we wouldn't even be having this trial. I feared for my life. That's all he'd need to say. Under what circumstances would it have been impossible for him to claim that? Your Honor, I'm reminded just now that my client and the witness were in a physical altercation. I apprehended a murder suspect, yes. Surely you aren't suggesting I used unreasonable force. If anything, you used unreasonably little. Not at all, but I imagine things happen fairly fast. Is it possible that the knife on Sosuke's person may have been knocked away into a corner during that moment? It may have. I can't say I would have necessarily noticed something clattering on the floor while I was trying to cuff a violent perp. Perhaps, Your Honor, the witness ought to testify about everything he recalls from the moment he confronted my client. Jogging his memory might be the only way we can address these gaps in our knowledge. Man versus machine, cop versus robber! I'm not a machine, or a robber. Don't worry, Sosuke. If need be, Ad and I would go through a whole trial just to prove you're a machine. What kind of joke is that? It's gotta be something with the fire escape. When that blue blood fled down, I poked my head out of the second floor window. But then I heard a sickening thump from above, with the third floor where I knew my partner was. Reflexively, I drew my service weapon and rushed up the stairs, where I saw the defendant standing over my partner's dead body. I was shocked, but he was clearly injured, and the sword was stuck, so before I knew it, I was running at him. He turned to me with dull shock, just as I whipped my pistol butt into his forehead. He collapsed after that, and the room was a mess. My blood was pumping. If you had dropped a knife at that time, I wouldn't have noticed it. is Sasuke's medical records? It says various sources on the front of the body. Does that include the forehead? No! It said you just said the front of the forehead. Yeah, he hasn't changed his tune, but he is giving more detail, and one of those details is about to bite him in the ass. Got him. I'm smart as hell, baby. Sounds very brave, Officer Rogers, but that's physically impossible. How could you have knocked my client out with one strike to the forehead when it was the back of his head that was injured? What are you talking about? Yesterday he has bruises across his entire body. An exaggeration that doesn't hold up to the scrutiny of his actual medical record. The largest wound found on the crown of the head. The crown, as in the top of the back of the head. The butt of a pistol leaves a surprisingly specific impression on the human body. I assume Dr. Sato's in the building. Perhaps we should call her back and have her examine my client on the stand. Sasuke, you'll have to remove your shirt. To get my head checked? That would be a waste of time, Your Honor. Counselor Morgan has taken advantage of some rather vague wording in the medical record to make her argument. Largest wound. But the fact is, the defendant was covered in various bruises all over his body when he was taken into custody, including on the front of his skull. He's not wrong. It's entirely possible that when Officer Rogers struck the defendant on the forehead, the blow was glancing, but still hard enough to knock the defendant backward, and had he fallen backward hard, he very easily could have sustained a large wound to the crown of his head at the moment he hit the ground. Ultimately not something either the people nor the defense are experts on, but even if we were, neither of us could examine wounds that are no longer visible. Sasuke's injuries, they've mostly healed as of this morning. Hope that injection helped you sleep really well last night, Sasuke. Your Honor, as I see it, we could either extend this trial indefinitely with both the people in the defense flying an X-ray specialist and a contusion analyst to argue back and forth about fracture lines, or we could accept that events more or less took place at the point that was described. He hit the defendant on the head, and the defendant fell backward onto the floor. If the head wound's open to interpretation, then... Do I gamba? But there's nothing in the medical record that... There's nothing... Forget expert witnesses. Let's just look at their medical data with our own two peepers. Because that means the stab was in the front of the chest. Yes, because that could mean that a stab was in the front. What? Sasuke wasn't stabbed, though. What? Sasuke wasn't stabbed at all. What are you talking about? No, he wasn't. The victim was. Oh, wait. London said that he had Rogers face down on the ground, right? Impaled from behind. With the knife. Officer Rogers claimed that Sasuke was hit on the forehead and fell backward, but what would he have fallen onto? In that room? Probably blood and guts. Yuck. You're exactly right. All kinds of firsts happening in the courtroom today. He would have gotten blood all across his back, but that's not how he looked when he was arrested. The medical report clearly states that he had blood on the front of his body, telling us that Sosuke could have only fallen forward. And what of it? Maybe he did. Maybe he turned his head weird while trying to dodge. Things happen fast. Don't try to bullshit a bullshitter. Okay, it's completely different, but you were right. You were right for the complete wrong reasons. Fast enough that you may have, in fact, actually struck my client from behind? Yeah, maybe. Took him by surprise when he was no threat to you? What? No! Easy target to knock out at that point. Makes sense why you wouldn't use lethal force in that scenario. No, the guy's got nearly a full head on me. True. I don't deny it. Which makes it highly unlikely the witness could have simply hit him on the crown. If things had happened as you say and he had the element of surprise, he could have simply aimed for the easiest target possible, the center of the bottom of the skull. Not quite. I never said that my client was standing up when this happened. You mean he was asleep? No. Considering he was struck in the crown of his head, it's obvious that at the time, Sosuke Ikariya was bent over, trying to pick up his sword. He was trying to pick up his sword. He was bent over when the witness came from behind and... What? Because I know you were about to want to know why you were about to phrase things in a way that would sound very silly. What are you talking about? Sarah's right, Morgan. You should take this one. It was when Sosuke bent over to pick up Yoru. Yeah, that's what I was saying! He was bent over! Oh, when the witness came from behind. Fucking... My mind is not in the gutter enough for this. I'm hungover. The witness came from behind. If he got penetrated by something so big and thick, he would die instantly. That's when Officer Rogers... That's my favorite Sonya line. That's probably top 10 lines in the Danganronpa series. I'm not gonna lie. Mel, have you heard that one? You've played Danganronpa before, right? If he was... Where is it? Here it is. Wait, no, this is not it. Where is it? I can't find it. And I don't want to search up... Okay, let me look it up. Hold on. Let me open an incognito browser first. If he was penetrated by something so big and thick, he would die instantly. Yeah, where's the video of her saying it? Here it is. Here. You can hear it, right? It's from a Game Grumps video, or some YouTuber video. What? Can it play the sound, please? Wait, here. Let me just Actually, I can just look up uncommentated playthrough of SDRA2 Trial 5, because it's the... Wait, that wrong thing. DRA2 Trial 5. Or DR2. I'm thinking about Danganronpa Another, I don't know why. Where... Here it is! Found it!
The sphere in Nagito's stomach. It is obvious just by looking at it that it was the cause of death.
Maybe it's not included.
Wait, is it? Is this...
The sphere in... Pop?
Again, it was nice to it and remember not with
Okay, wait, it's not here. Let me just play you the clip with the YouTuber out. Play the video.
Chapter 5.
It's from a Game Grumps video.
Oh my.
Fucking shut up, man. Shut up, Game Grumps. Whatever. Anyway, she says it. Here, I have the image. I just don't have the voice line. Here, I just sent it to you. Back to the video game. Because I only have, like, an hour and, like, 10 minutes to stream. As I said, there's one thing I do remember besides walking out there, was picking up my sword. Picking it up off the ground. Oh, oops. Fucking... delete. Don't look at that. Having your androids argue the weaker points for you now, Counselor? Not exactly the bravest tactic. Tactics are for freshening your breath. What can you claim is weak about the argument? Positioning. If your client really had walked out into that holding room and was immediately hit from behind, where could his assailant possibly have been standing? Sasuke had to get out of his bindings first, then push open the door. And we wouldn't have been concerned about keeping quiet when he went. There would have been plenty of time for someone to hear him rummaging around in there and figure out where they could hide. In the corner of the room, here. That doesn't work. If it was, your client would have fallen face first here. But instead, he was apprehended here, in the center of the room. Makes sense to me. It looks like he dropped a sack of potatoes by the door, sure, but then he was dragged to the center of the room. What explains the streaks of blood we can see on the floor? So those weren't left by him gliding his feet in order to move silently. I was hoping to learn that technique. Your Honor, I fear the defense may not realize the weight of the implication that her statement carries. If she claims that Sasuke Ikariya was knocked unconscious by Officer Rogers the moment you walked out into this room, then my client never had any opportunity to stab Chopin in the back. and the only remaining individual who could have possibly killed him would be me. Yes, any thoughts on that, officer? There's one thought that's been frustrating me for some time, actually. One I expected the prosecutor to voice, but perhaps I misjudged her. None of what you're saying makes any sense. You say I hid into the corner to surprise Sosuke, and then what? Snuck up on Chopin? How could I do any of that if I was downstairs at the time Chopin was killed? At the time Sosuke killed him. It's not that the thought hadn't occurred to Emma, you idiot. It's that once I address this point, your entire testimony falls apart, and the truth of the case becomes crystal clear. There's no misunderstanding on my part, and I suspect none on the part of the people, because when you and your partner must have arrived, you must have immediately... You were the one who took point, not your partner. Excuse me? Chopin shot open the lock. Sure, I believe that. He was the one all gung-ho about coming there anyway. But after entering, you went ahead of him while he covered you. You already told us that you wanted to stall, wait for backup. If Chopin charged forward, you couldn't slow him down. But if you went first, you could go as slowly as you like, and Chopin would be forced to match your pace. You were the one who cleared the room and shouted down that everyone was dead. I told you, I testified! So did your blue blood tail. Testified all about how you and your partner separated on the second floor. Objection! Mischaracterization of testimony. The witness the defense is referring to did encounter the two officers, but the witness never identified either of them. The blue blood didn't need to. All they were waiting to hear was whether any blue bloods were alive. So after Rogers shouted down to Chopin that everyone was dead, they bolted out of the second floor window. And when Chopin shouted that someone was in the alley, Officer Rogers opened the window behind Creek's body to try and spot the runner. Then he ran down the fire escape to try and follow them, only to give up when he saw that there was no ladder to get down with. It's entirely possible that Chopin yelled that someone was in the alley from the third floor. The scene of the crime is soundproof, remember? No one in that room would notice a commotion unless they'd already opened the windows to check it. So since Chopin yelled about it, he had to have been the officer who stayed on the second floor. This blue blood rat of yours just misheard. Or they're lying. There's no proof of any of this. Yes, there is, officer. The scrap of paper! Chopin was the one who... That scrap of paper was found by the second floor windowsill. But it's not just any scrap of paper. It matches the red ink documents that were found where the pod died. And it happens to have a partial boot print on it, proving that someone stomped from the crime scene down the fire escape and into the second floor. That doesn't prove anything. Your own client could have left that footprint. My client was arrested barefoot, remember? You did the arresting. Then maybe Chopin, if Chopin was the one who brought the scrap down from the third floor, that would put him behind you, meaning you could have walked in on him on being attacked by Sosuke. Counselor! Even if we accept that Rogers was on the third floor and then moved down to the second, the sequencing you described ends with both officers reunited on the second floor, with neither of them dead. But obviously Chopin did proceed to the third floor because that's where he was killed. So now we're back where we started. You're forgetting one key detail in this new sequence of events. At the time the officers reunited on the second floor, my client was already unconscious. Meaning, the only person who had the chance to kill Officer Chopin was, in fact, none of this shit matters. This lawyer is trying to accuse me of killing my partners? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Why would I do something like that? Depends. Depends on where you live. Not uptown, I presume. What's it to you? Single bedroom? Yeah, whatever. Not great. And having to ride around in the day with some insufferable, spoiled, rich stick in the mud, knowing the whole time that your job, your whole goddamn police department, it was just all a bullet point on his resume. Counsel is badgering the witness in lieu of making an actual argument. Apologies, Your Honor. I'll state the motive plainly. Prop 492 was corrupt. Blue Bloods and worse would have profited off it at the city's expense. But it would also bring economic relief and badly needed repairs to the lower wards. It might also stop the canopy from, just falling down and crushing everyone who lives there. But a climber like Chopin wouldn't care about any of that. Every photo I've seen of this guy, he's had a big stern frown. But I bet he was grinning ear to ear when he found that red ink. Must have made you sick to your stomach. So you killed him, and then you bled him like a pig to try to destroy the documents he would have plastered all over town. You're crazy! That's not possible! Do the people have anything to add? Emma hates losing, but she's not stupid. She must be getting sick of having to cover for this. Officer Rogers, you were the one who entered the 3rd floor first, weren't you? Yes. How long were you there before your partner alerted you to someone escaping through the alley? More than 2 minutes, less than 3. You had a chance to start looking the room over? Yes. And did you see anything as politically explosive as what the defense had described? No, nothing of the sort. Your Honor, the witness is blatantly lying. We know the documents were there, and we know that Chopin found them because he was underneath his corpse. And it is the defense's theory that he was killed because of those documents, because he would have tried to make them public, essentially. That's the defense's proposed motive for this man to kill his partner. I see, but why would he be prepared to kill his partner for reading documents left out on the desk when he had over 2 minutes to simply get rid of them beforehand? Oh, a damn good question, Your Honor. Do we have an answer for it? I'm getting there. I'll get there. I'm close. His layers are falling off. This is a cold guy. Cold enough to walk in that room, knock out Sosuke, and start calmly looking around. So is he lying? Did he actually see those papers? No, Emma's right. If those papers were in plain view, he'd just have tucked them into his jacket. If the papers were in plain view. Were they? I don't remember. Where the hell did I put them if not on the desk? I remember taking them out of Creek's safe and thinking they were nothing important, so I just... Okay. That's probably how one page got left where it could stick to the bottom of Roger's boot. But before I left, I reorganized things, tried to make it seem like I was never there, so I stacked things neatly. Pardon me, Your Honor, I was simply overthinking, to be honest. Because Officer Rogers didn't dispose of the red ink when he had the chance because he didn't notice the red ink. It's that simple. A simple answer to a simple question that simply doesn't measure up. If Officer Rogers didn't notice the red ink docs in 2 minutes he had with the scene, how did his partner discover them so quickly? Neither of them were looking for illicit government documents at the site of a gang shooting. Neither of them would want to start disturbing a crime scene where there were bodies and blood all around them. Correct. Naturally, neither officer. Something must have simply caught Officer Chopin's eye. Very bad luck on his part, as it turns out. Well, what could it have been? Sounds like a tough question to answer, but there aren't as many possibilities to sit there as you think, Your Honor. Because it would have to be something that caught Officer Chopin's eye, yet not that of his partner. In other words, something at the scene that Officer Rogers wouldn't recognize. If the officers knew this was the site of orca violence from the silent alarm, and there was blood and corpses all over the damn place, and the red ink donks were not in plain sight amidst all the carnage, what could have possibly drawn Officer Chopin's attention to them? The dark card, maybe? But I don't have anything to prove that. But the dark card was on the desk near it. You think the red documents were beneath the data pad at the time? The music's fading out. I was right. You think the red ink documents were beneath the data pad at the time? That might explain why Rogers didn't notice them, but that's only half the answer. Then how's this? It wasn't the data pad that drew Rogers' attention. It was the dark card stuck inside of it. It seems a little more than a fancy credit card to you and I, but if you're rich enough, it's an unmistakable sign of powerful forces at play. Exactly the kind of thing that would put a gleam in the eye of the politically ambitious Officer Chopin, right up until the moment you saw the bombshell hidden underneath the datapad. Your Honor, this speculation. Chopin's prints were discovered on the datapad, Your Honor. We know we must have picked it up. They were? Oh! Yeah, why were his... And that datapad was found by police, so we know that he must have put it down. It was merely proposing that he didn't put it down in the exact same spot. Just because this dark card happened... Hey, seriously. What the hell have you two been talking about? What the shit is a dark card? Cryptographically anomalous wallet card that rich people use to buy illegal drugs and gifts for their mistresses. Not common knowledge unless you ran in circles as high up as the city council. Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't know that. Didn't hear that. Assumed you were being literal. It is a dark card. Yeah, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me. Chopin going around picking up whatever he wanted at a crime scene without even radio in first sounds about right. Bare hands, mouth breathing. Guy was big on following the rules, just wasn't good at remembering any of them. Not me, though. I remember every rule. Follow him, too. Partner breaks a body cam, I request a new one. Let him use mine. Stop him from getting sued by the next punk he bumps into. It was a real risk for him. He had money. People would sue him if they could. No one would try to sue Huey Rogers. The only thing the judge could award them would be my own goddamn debts. I don't think I'm bad with money. Just bad with debt. Can never seem to get rid of the stuff. But even I'm not stupid that I wouldn't wear gloves at a goddamn crime scene. From the minute we pulled up to that building, I was wearing gloves. 3 stories in an alleyway. I can swear on my parents' graves that I didn't contaminate 1 millimeter of it. Didn't put my greasy fingerprints on the windows, the doors, the murder weapons. You'd never even know I was there. So can you say I did this, or so you can say I did this or claim any of that. But the city's only gonna ever hear that some Akkadian bastard killed a bunch of blue blood punks, and that Tariq Chopin died a hero trying to save the day. Right. Adonai, is this true? Is that possible? After all this, is it possible that... But the jury, surely they can see... The jury will see what the adjutant decides what they need to see in order to properly render the verdict. If the adjutant comes to the conclusion that a witness or a line of questioning would only serve to confuse the jury... 80, Your Honor, the jury... Give me a second to think here, girl. I'm trying to build consensus and basically everyone's mad. So maybe the adjuntant's in our favor and maybe the jury sees our way. But there are no guarantees. After all that, it just comes down to a gamble. Always does. Yeah, but you still get the chance to sculpt your hand, and I can do a lot better than this pile of shit. Just have to take my licks first. Your Honor, I disagree. I need to go get some water. I'll be right back. About what exactly? About all of it. About everything. Look, we know that someone moved from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor via the fire escape because of that scrap of paper, which could have been put them in the perfect position to walk up behind Chopin. And we know that Chopin picked up the data pad because his fingerprints were on it. So we can reason that Chopin was investigating the death before he died. And we know because he died reading the red ink documents, because duh, his body was collapsed found on top of them. Put all that together and nothing. You still have nothing. Nothing except circumstantial evidence tying this witness to a theoretical sequence of events. Emma, did you get hit in the head too? What? We have Officer Rogers' fingerprints on the murder weapon. What? They'll never go all in unless they think your hand is cracked. Put on a show. We're bluffing? His prints were on the pistol used to bludgeon my client, of course. What? What are you? No, they aren't. As he said, he was wearing gloves. Also, that gun was never fired. What are you talking about? Now that you mention it, yeah. Shoot, did I get my notes mixed up? But all my money! We're wasting all my money! They're making me lose all my money! No! That's right, the bat! Did you think we wouldn't notice you left your fingerprints on it just because it was broken into splinters? The baseball bat used on Trey. Forensics failed to put a single print from it. Is this your idea of a joke? Geez, take it easy, I misspoke a little. Also, I don't have my reading glasses. What? The Mad US though used to kill Kingston Creek. Pretty stupid to forget to wipe your prints off a piece that gaudy, don't you think? Counselor, what is this? Are you throwing a tantrum, making a mockery of the courtroom? The only prints on that gun belonged to Sosuke Ikuria. Oh. Sorry, guess I was thinking of another case? Is there perhaps a gas leak on the other side of the courtroom? Well, don't I feel stupid. What I've been trying to say is that Officer Rogers failed to notice that he left his fingerprints on the most important weapon of all. The very blade that took his partner's life. Enough of this embarrassment! What the hell's wrong with you? I knew a mob lord would be corrupt and vile, but how could you be such a stupid bimbo? Do you think we're all idiots? My fingerprints on that goddamn knife and you know... Got him! He didn't know it was... He wouldn't have known it was a knife because he wasn't in the room when we were talking about it. Got him! Pranked! My mistake. I can see here that, yes, I was misreading the fine details, and it does appear... That's why I said the blade instead of my knife. Your fingerprints are not on the knife. Sorry. You... Oh, dear. What? What? What is it? Oh, I guess we're all just wondering. How long have you known that it was this knife used to kill your partner? What? Confused? So are these two. Because like you, neither of them were in the courtroom when Dr. Sato updated her autopsy report. They updated the autopsy report! Do-do-do! 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 So I knew that Chopin was killed with a knife, and the people knew that Chopin was killed with a knife. But how did you know that? There must have been 50 cops in here when that doctor... Far fewer than 50, actually. More like 0. We had already emptied the courtroom by then. A courtesy we extended to a blue blood witness. You, for some blue blood rat, you crazy harpy! Trying to trick me at the last second? You think I walked in here unprepared? No, of course not! She, right there, Rockford, the prosecutor! Before I took the stand, she told me all about the knife! Ah, so that's your plan. Right, Rockford, before I came out here, didn't you? It's always great to reveal a full house and rake in the pot. It's even better to reveal a handful of shit you bluffed your way to victory with. Say something already! Just say it! But every now and then a different kind of victory comes along, where you get to sit back and watch someone else self-destruct because they completely misread the dealer. Say it! Say that you... Shut up! What? Just shut up! Is that so hard? Are my instructions unclear? Do you need me to salute you first? Stop talking! You are completely, utterly, 100% guilty! Why the hell would I perjure myself to help you? You're in my walls? No! This art goes crazy, though. I need to look like that. But, hey, start counting. Because from this second on, every word that comes out of your mouth add directly to the number of years you're gonna rot in jail. Unless those words are your confession. He's the Hound of Ikaria! He murders for the mob! We can put him away! They don't want to put him away! Not for your crime, not for murdering the son of 2 city councilmen. Have you lost your goddamn mind? But he's a murderer. Well, not all murderers are created equally. Well, not all murderers are hunted equally. Your new ability assassinating one another, let it ride, keeps them divided. Orcas fighting in the lower wards, let them sort it out, keep their number down. A monster shoots 6 women in the heart and leaves no evidence behind? Call us back when he kills someone important. Alright. Strange. Once she's properly infuriated, there's usually no stopping her. Well, if she's not going to twist the knife herself, I shouldn't let it go to waste. Your Honor, if the witness is having trouble choosing a place to start for his confession, perhaps I might help by laying out the details for him. You sadistic bitch! He was counting on Emma to step in. Now he's sliding into that rock down the rocky face of despair, fingernails split and bloody as he attempts in vain to slow the descent. Not very dignified, so I won't leave him hanging. I'd be happy to speed him along. Morgan is so peak, dude. A week ago, you acquired a blue blood distress signal when you arrested Tanks, but your partner insisted on letting him go and keeping the code to yourself. So the night of the murder, when the alarm rang out, he jumped at the chance to be the first unit on the scene of what could be a gang shootout. You did all you could to stall, but your partners pressed on, and even shot the door, opened the door in his hurry to get into the locked building. On your relieved that everyone was already dead, and puzzled by the delirious Suske who you knocked out with one blow to the back of the head. But by calling down your partner to convince him you were already too late, you alerted an orca hiding downstairs. And when they fled out the window down the alley, you opened the window at the crime scene to give chase. While you were scanning the alley from the second floor fire escape, your partner proceeded upstairs. We was just surprised as you were, but were intrigued by the presence of a dark card you'd never recognized. He knew that it was pointed towards the involvement of powerful parties. It was simply bad luck that he found the relic before you, but he must have felt like he'd won the lottery. He was the one man in the city who benefited the most from exposing the corruption it hinted at. He must have been salivating at the opportunity right in front of you, standing in the blood without a second thought. You had taken the knife from Suske, hadn't even thought about it up to that point. You knew once the rest of the force arrived, there'd be no stopping from the red ink from going on record. You had one chance to blot it out for good. That's all! That's all a lie, just smoke and mirrors, tricks and guesswork. The Hound of Ikaria is standing right there next to you. The Blue Bloods himself even tried to kill him, right in front of all of us. No, they didn't. I have it on very good authority that the Blue Bloods wouldn't want my client assassinated. Oh, I'm sure. So consider where the shooter was, the direction he was aiming. The only person he could have been aiming at would be, well, you! What the hell are you talking about? Seems like the old guard wanted to make sure there'd be a swift punishment for letting Prop 492. So you can keep protesting your innocence if you want. It might work out. And you might be able to avoid the next Blue Blood to come after you, and the next after that. And you might survive just long enough to end up the only casualty in a tragically unavoidable case of friendly fire. Who's coming at you from above and below? Who gets there first is a coin toss. So tell me, you feeling lucky? Well, you. Any questions? You and this DA, your officer? You're both. You're all out of your damn minds. Wait, but we never discussed who killed Tanks in them. Do you work for the Blue Bloods? Never thought of it that way. Even back when I was a kid, they thought I was just another institution. Like a neighborhood watch. People looking out for each other. Everyone's parents off working or enlisted or in jail for civil disobedience. My blood ain't worth shit. I was useful enough to be a young blood, not good looking enough to be a host. But I kept going to school. They helped me pay for it. Because it was in fact transactional. They expected to get something in return. Police academy, their man on the inside. Wasn't as exciting as it sounds. I made sure it wasn't. Test scores sucked, aptitude sucked, clumsy and boring. I made sure no one would want to give me anything important to do. The world's worst double agent. So bad at his job, he'd never be expected to double cross anyone. Imagine the look on my face when my reputation for nothingness gets me paired up with the worst babysitting job on the force. Chopin. We were perfectly matched in a way. I wanted to be near nothing, and nobody wanted him to let him near anything. Nothing dangerous enough for him to get hurt. Nothing real enough that he could go blabbing to his dad. We ran around to schools. Those jobs we get. Telling the kids what cops do. Here's how to call for help. We were a goddamn joke. There are worse things to be. You think I don't know that? You think I give a shit that kids were laughing at us in the back of the class? That teens were throwing soda cans at our car? Good for them. At least they're having fun. Shriek was never having fun. He was just burning inside. Humiliation and bile, a stomach full of it. If you haven't found the code on Tanks that day, I don't know. God would have either put it in his 2 weeks notice or just drawn his gun and walked to the nearest Orca mansion. So when you two arrived at the building, happened like the defense attorney said. I told Chopin about some bullshit about smelling contraband on the second floor. He started poking around, and I went straight to the third floor because that's where the bosses were hanging out back when I was a kid. Never met this creature part of my life. It was part of my life till we stopped Anchor 10, different gens, and I'd never seen anything like the bloodbath in that room. All four in the pod were dead when I got there. Believe me, don't believe me, I didn't know how to read Korea, and I don't think he could have done that either. Considering how he stumbled out of that water closet like a bloody water balloon. I did whack him on the back of the head, my hand to God, but my hand to God, I'm not convinced it did anything. Face down in the blood, out just like that. Couldn't have woken him up with a nuke. and that knife in his hand. I called down, said everyone was dead. That blue blood bolted. Tariq called after them. Yeah, I opened the window and tried to follow. I guess Tariq didn't know the ladder was out, figured I was chasing him down. By the time I stepped back inside, he was upstairs. And I walked up the stairs expecting him to be puking, crying, shaking, I don't know. Instead, he starts yelling down, happy, ecstatic. He can't believe this. The scoop of the century. And I realize I know what he's talking about. Your blue-blooded superiors let you know about Prop 492? Lots of people knew the deal with Prop 492, even non-blooded civvies. Nothing wrong with any of that so long as it stayed a rumor. So long as the state didn't know we knew where the pillars were going to be built. It was a nice thing, believe it or not. People from the lower wards whispering about big money coming in. A little excitement to look forward to. Tariq was excited too. All he could see was forward. Barely reading the words in front of his eyes. Not giving a shit about anything behind him. Not caring about what he was trampling over. I didn't plan on doing anything that matters, if you care. I was moving slow, but I wasn't trying to hide. I just... After taking off the hound, I still had that knife. That goddamn knife in my hand. You all seem like educated people, so I take it none of you all believe in evil. We believe in evil down in the lower wards. It's like a fog hangs around certain people, places, and it poured off that knife like a water fountain. The devil made you do it! Haven't heard that one in a while. If it wasn't for that dark card being there. You know, Tariq told me once that he wanted to become mayor. I just did the stupid fake laugh and told him he had my vote. I don't know why I did that. I shouldn't have done that. Laughed at him? Shouldn't have lied to him. And so, Your Honor, the people will be dismissing the charge of homicide in the first degree with prejudice. They can't charge you with Officer Chopin's murder again at a later date just because they found more evidence. And the other 4 charges of second-degree homicide, we were dismissing the 4 charges of second-degree homicide without prejudice. So she's not quite convinced that I couldn't have killed Creek's Pod. Miller's blood being already on the knife he used to get free in the first place was pretty huge. Combined with Rogers admitting that you basically stumbled out a walking corpse. But the way the state sees it, their murders aren't any more solved than they were at the beginning of this trial. It's to be expected. And the jury will be dismissed, this court will be adjourned, and you, Mr. Ikeda, are free to go. Everything that's happened to you in the last few days, how's that leaving you so shocked? I'm not shocked, I'm just grateful, Counselor. You have my... Your Honor, is there something else you wanted to say? Well, if you insist, I guess for some reason, even though the jury's been dismissed and it's actually their job to do this part, and the charges were dropped, I have this strong, overwhelming urge to say, not guilty! No, that needs to be much bigger. Maybe, I cast ye innocent. No, that sounds dumb. Yippee, we did the Ace Attorney thing. So how do you plan on celebrating? I don't know. We won, in case you two somehow missed it. It won so definitively that the police and even the Blue Bloods can't hold a grudge. Right. My apologies. I'm grateful to you, of course. It's just that I still haven't gotten an answer to the question that's been haunting me. Even more so than whether or not I killed Chopin. Someone slaughtered Creek's entire pod. Then they had my life in the palm of their hand and framed you, Sosuke. I don't think they were doing any favors. And yet they did. They let me live. It feels strange, owing everything to someone so unknowable. Well, You have plenty of time to think about it, spending the rest of your life hiding the hens in the sand, and knowing the vast riches that sit untapped in the savings account across the sea. Out of life, it's made a stance quite clear. I don't intend to hide, Morgan. The Blue Bloods can try whatever they like, and they can find me standing right where I've always stood, protecting my family. Seems like there's someone who'd like to speak with you about just that. Young Master! Please forgive me, young Master. I failed you repeatedly. I'll accept any punishment. Very well. 108 years of manual labor. Oh. Yeah, that's about as merciful as I expected. At least he picked a good number. What? What's so funny about 108? 100 and... Of course, young master. You need to spend that sentence serving as my head of security, so I know you're actually doing it. And that means you won't get to be able to do other jobs anymore, even ones that the elders ask you to do. Even delivering messages. It's a punishment handed down to you by the heir of Noble House Ikaria, Sosuke. Who could possibly overrule it? Aww. As you say. I'll start right away if you don't mind. That is probably wise. Grandfather's outside the motorcade, and he has nothing but criticisms for the current formation. The chairman is here? He came here? Probably just happened to be on his way to the airport. He is, Council Morgan. Surprisingly astute of you. Though he's leaving quite early if he just wants to get to the airport. None of our private planes are even fueled. It seems to be a universal truth that old people like to get to the airport early. Bro, my family has instilled that value on me ever since I was a kid. I get to the airport so obnoxiously early. I'm usually waiting there for an hour. It sucks, but I do it. That sounds very wise, Sarah of House Paralegal. Who are you quoting? Well, if you'll excuse me for a moment, Counselor. Take Sarah with you. If you don't want to look at your tattoo now, I'll never hear the end of it. Yes, well that's... Right then, I'll find a corner in which to lift up my shirt. Congratulations, Counselor. You succeeded on all fronts. Not satisfied? Makoto seems to be in a good mood. If you're asking for a bonus now... Shouldn't I just negotiate with my employer directly? You're the one who hired me, aren't you? At the very least, you're the one who put my name forward to Makoto. It's easy to see looking back. You're the only one who acted in Sosuke's interest this entire time, who isn't a child. Why me? Because I value my privacy. I want to know why a woman with your resources would put an ant like me under her magnifying glass. Such cool metaphors you employ. Someone who values their privacy that much should in the future avoid directly confronting the board of multinational corporations. Noble's board of directors? You were... Not among them myself, but when one woman shaped the opinion of a room in that stagnant, even by a millimeter, word gets around. No putting the genie back in the bottle, but I won't recommend you to anyone else if it bothers you that much. Thanks. So you can be pretty shy yourself letting Makoto take all the credit. Why the subterfuge? I've already overextended myself in this matter. A woman from my side of the house intruding on the IFG's business. I don't mind that I have to rip out fingernails in front of the elders as a recompense, but I thought I might spare myself the additional pinky or so. You're being literal, aren't you? Disobedience always has a cost, especially in old families. Especially for daughters. But not flinching as you pay the toll carries its own kind of power, don't you think? Maybe I'm just trying to dress up my cowardice as dignity. Disobedience used to come naturally to me. It gets harder the older you get. Harder to believe your independence wasn't just immaturity. That's why I'm glad Makoto's such a good boy. I don't want him to feel any guilt later in life. Yes, Makoto certainly takes his responsibility seriously. Can't imagine where he gets it from. I was such a hellraiser. He must get it from his father. I suppose so. It's an interesting mark below Sosuke's eye. Looks like a mole, but it seems to be hereditary. Does Makoto know Sosuke's his father? Oh! Does Sosuke? So you weren't his brother! I'd be very disappointed in Sosuke's intelligence if he didn't. That's why Sosuke left the family to join the military, why he asked to become the Hound when he came back. Self-imposed exile for interfering in your arranged marriage. Interfering. We were younger then. So you weren't brother and sister. You were... But we still knew what we were doing. We knew there was no stopping the marriage. If we didn't cover up the pregnancy, others would. Or just eliminate the problem themselves. Sosuke left after the bridal shower. A sudden enlistment, certainly, but... I don't blame him for not wanting to be there in guard duty as I married another man. If Makoto is Sosuke's son, though, that means he carries his blood. If he's able to inherit from both his mother and his father, his worth... I know this is going to be hard for you to believe, coming from a woman like me, but Makoto's already worth enough. He has his health, he has his mother, and his father will always be close by. Every moment we're shared as a family is worth its weight in gold. And now, as you've seen, when given the opportunity between Makoto and the Blue Blood fortune, Sosuke chose the former. All of you, you could have it all. Why don't you want it all? We already have it. I see, you don't understand, do you? I hope you do someday. Bro doesn't understand love. Let's get back to something I fully understand. Partnering. One blood test from Makoto could split your precious house right down the middle. Your husband will be infuriated. He has a pulse. And whatever connections, assuming he has a pulse, and whatever connections you married him for will burn up in seconds. So unless you guarantee me that I'm free to turn down any job... Don't make unnecessary threats, counselor. It makes you look weak. Take it from someone with experience. You're always free to leave the house. But if you find yourself slinking back, don't be too hard on yourself about it. It's just what the house does. Now would you excuse me? Sosuke seems to have satisfied your companion's curiosity for the time being, and it's very rare for him to have any time to himself. You don't understand, do you? Counselor Morgan! What's that look for? So, that's 2 wins for me now, isn't it? After Rogers went nuts and perjured himself all over the place, you're calling that shitstorm a win? It definitely wasn't a loss. Bro said, you don't know love, immediately gay lover spawns in. So cool. Thanks, by the way, for letting things play out as long as they did. I imagine you wanted to put the brakes on things a number of times back there. But now that it's all out, my client won't be getting knifed by cops or blue bloods. At least not for anything he didn't do. You think I was happy to let the Count of Ikaria walk out of my courtroom? Your courtroom? I'll have to have a word with the adjutant. Please don't. But yes, I had my doubts. The OC unit has been getting a number of odd reports in the last 24 hours, truth be told. Bursts of anonymous tips about figures in red being spotted around Creek's place before and after the killing. Figures in red? That's right, the rust. Ah, right, the rust. I don't like the timing, but it's not as if OC can ignore the idea altogether. Someone killed those four, and it wasn't Sasuke or Rogers. If you don't like the rust for it, where's your head at? Whoever killed Creek's pod did it with such unhinged brutality, and yet it was executed with precision so cold-blooded they managed to versatily erase their presence from the scene afterward. Tanks and Creek were both shot from fairly close place, and near enough to their solar plexuses. Bashing Trey's skull was overkill, yes, but it may have been the safest way to erase anything his mods may have recorded, and even if it was an afterthought, the overcorrection is in line with perfectionism interrupted by... Well, forget it. I'm seeing things that aren't there for a sign of an obsession. Obsession? I'm jealous. You seem like you never let anything get to you. It's unpleasant, you know, feeling that you're possessed by something or someone. Well, if it was easy to wrest control back, it wouldn't be an obsession. Just puppy love. Oh, that's me. I gotta take this call. See you around, Morgan. Yeah, see you around. Just don't go telling anyone that was a win, or I'll have you arrested for spreading misinformation. Well, we can't have that. Okay, Morgan, I fulfilled my obligation to Sarah, so now you can buy me a goddamn drink. You can start your 108-year sentence tomorrow. I've got some paperwork we need to go through before then, and I don't want to do it sober. Oh, you're serious? Of course I am. Everyone knows it's tradition for client to buy their lawyer a drink after he beats charges like this. And in this city, they take them to this one special bar, Kintsugi. I've never heard of that tradition, or that bar. Yes, well, you've lived a very sheltered life under the roof of House Ikaria, but I forgive your ignorance. Time for you to put the fat wallet you've been accruing this whole time to good use. I suppose I do owe you a great deal. Very well, but first I must inform Lady Murray and the young master. Go right ahead. Be my guest. Well, Uzad and I, did you want to get a look at Sasuke's tattoo as well? I'll take a rain check. Sasuke seems much more animated this afternoon, don't you think? Did you say something to him? No. No, I didn't do anything. I see. Then perhaps his injuries were just more taxing and more than we realize. That must be it. It had been threatening to rain all day. Gray skies spanning a slate blue world. It was cold and all the heaters were humming in their rush to overcorrect for it. At 3 o'clock, raindrops started hitting the windowsills. Not a problem. She had her umbrella. At 3:15, the adults started leaning back in their chairs, watched as phones were being checked. They were preparing to leave. At 3:24, another topic is brought up. The gathering resigns themselves to a continuation. It's 3:45 by the time the girl was able to excuse herself. She has 15 minutes to get back to school. Hardly impossible on foot. If she hurried, she could have asked to be... but she could have asked him to be driven there. For some reason, the thought never crossed her mind. She hesitates at the door. She'd left her umbrella behind, back upstairs. It's not likely to be her to be absent-minded. The smart thing to do would be go back up and get it. It's 3:49. At 3:51, she is jogging, a non-committal yet undignified rush. When she sees the time on her phone roll over to 3:52, she starts to run. She hates running. A part of her considers sending a text. She'd never been the one to text first. Come to think of it, she'd never been the one to text seconds. She only had one number in her phone's contacts, after all. At 3:58, the school's gates are in sight. Her eyes have been straining to see them. She wasn't looking down. Her knees stung in a shallow, sharp way. The palm of her hands were embedded with specks of gravel when she caught herself. Rain-diluted blood rained faintly down her neck as she dripped water onto the mundanely tiled floors of the hallway. At 3:59, she pauses to at least catch her breath before sliding the door open. If her heart hadn't been beating so loudly in her ears, she would have noticed the voices behind it. Ha 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 ha! Where do you even come up with this stuff? Hey, I can't really promise that it'll be exciting every week around here, but... Ew! What are you? I thought you had a family thing. Oh shit, are you okay? What happened? You're soaked, and... I thought... Who are all... With a mystery club. Name pending, I hope. I was told the name could change. You were right, Ev. I just went around to people on campus and tried being friendly, being myself, and people started signing up. But forget that. Your knee. It's fine. You must be freezing. Let me give you my coat. Sorry, I'll just carry you to the nurse myself. Ma'am, this girl showed up and she's bleeding. What? Bleeding? Everyone stand back. Where is she? Who? What's her name? I don't know. I don't think I've seen her before. You, girl, come with me. I'm taking you to the infirmary. Ma'am, she's cold. That's very nice of you, but it's not sanitary to share uniforms. Stay here and wait for the floors to be clean. Ev, Don't worry about it. I can walk on my own. What? Like, that's clearly Morgan in the past, but who's the other guy? And the little sprinkle of salt just along the edges. There you have it. Oh, that looks wonderful, thank you. Of course, let me know if you need anything else. I must admit, Morgan, this is quite a fine establishment, and so exclusive. The whole staff here on hand just to attend just the two of us. I can't imagine what the waiting list must be like. Right? Lucky for you, you've got a man working on the inside. I can assure you a table at any time, Sosuke. You or any of your housemates ever need a quiet spot to lay low from the judging eyes of high society, now you know where to send them. I might do just that. And these prices are so reasonable. Shit, knew I should have gone with the digital menus. Hey, Sosuke, that name they have for you, the Hound, that a title you were given, or just part of the mantle you chose to take up? No, I was called that long before I started delivering messages. Long before I got my tattoo. Truth be told, I don't know where it came from, or when people started using it. Childhood nickname, I suppose. Earned by following Mirai around like a puppy? I never, who told you Mirai was the heir when we were... It's a miracle you didn't break under torture, you know that? The Hound of Ikaria. So everyone called you a dog when you were a kid. Jokingly. Lovingly. Mirai's right. I don't know anything about love. Oh. One of the many things I've long since acknowledged that I'm missing. But obsession, addiction, those are easy enough to grasp. I've rolled the dice plenty of times by now. There are no demons haunting me, no other drivers in the car. Just me, sitting in the dark with a hole in my chest. When it's hungry, I feed it. But it'll never be full, because the hole was there first. And it built a girdle around itself so it would have a place to hide. How can you tell? Thought they called you that lovingly. I suppose you never know. You just trust. And if you do trust, then that's your answer. And besides, what's so insulting about being compared to a dog? Everyone loves dogs. Probably even you. For your information, I like dogs just fine, Sosuke, but I could never live as one. Everyone's already collared in this world, tagged, labeled, classified, and put in a box. But even so, I refuse to sit at the end of someone's leash. Better to remain astray. And that was Of the Devil, episode 2. Lena Rain had music in this? What the fuck? Excuse me? What the fuck? No wonder the fucking music, like, got an upgrade in this chapter? That's so cool. I love this game. This game's sick. I wasn't looking out for anything in particular. The rest give me and the others food for stuff for telling me where blues go and who they talk to. My shoes have been feeling too small, and the blue guys in that building have been really busy lately. I thought if I hung around there I might see something the rest would give me new shoes for, but I never saw anything worth anything. So you gave up? No, I got scared. What scared you? You won't believe me. No one believes me. Everyone says I'm a liar. Everyone says I'm a liar too. Are you? It's this damn kid! I can't remember. You see, somebody took something that belonged to me. I don't feel right without it, but I think you could help me find it. What'd you lose? My face. I saw the Red Hood, except she was a lady, not a girl, and she didn't have her hood up. I didn't get a look at her face, but she was all red. Red hair? What's this? Gold. Thanks, but are you sure I wasn't any help? You've been a huge help. Now I know to look for red hair. I've tracked down more elusive prey with less. Is this the huntsman? Is that the huntsman? It's peak. Hi, Morgan. It's peak. It's peak, Your Honor. What was Lena's Rain song on this? Lena Rain Bandcamp. Okay, they did. So she was the Morgan theme. These two songs. So, obviously, she was the two best songs in the game. But yeah, that's gonna be where we end the stream for today. Bye, chat. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. And if not, I'll see you, soon, I guess.